How to remove a Chevrolet 5.7 liter 350 today on Hennessy's Garage. As you can tell, we've already kind of started the process. I have the front core support of the vehicle just to make it easier. I'm going to be taking the transmission and motor out as one piece, so it'll be nice and easy to just pull her straight out. The only other thing I've really done is taking off the condenser, taking out the radiator. Alright, so that's all that's been done so far. So now I'm going to jack up the vehicle, get underneath there, and take a look at the transmission, get the detent cable off, get the shift linkage off, the transmission mount, get that off, and any other stuff that might need to be done underneath the vehicle. So I'll be able to get that all done. Then I'll lower it back down and come back up here and attack all that. See you down below. Alright, here we are underneath the Suburban. I don't know if I said that. This is a Suburban, two-wheel drive. But before we even jump out of here, you want to make sure you always practice safety first. We got the main jack stands here. We got our secondary jack stands back here, just in case, and also have the jack over there with just a little slight pressure on there just to catch if anything should go awry. So we'll be going for the transmission mount first. It's a 15mm bolt right underneath there. It's a little wet back here. Looks like the speedometer cable where that connects into is leaking a wee bit, but that's not our concern. So we're gonna get that guy first. So thankfully that guy popped right off. We're going to jack up the transmission a little bit and get access to the actual transmission mount. Start jacking. Alright. Now by the looks of it, there's nothing holding our transmission mount onto our transmission. There are no bolts. Oh, typical. That made for a quick and easy job. Alright, you can lower the transmission. Easy. Alright, with the bolt for the transmission mount off, we're going to go and tackle the shift linkage and that electrical connection up there. We'll pop those two guys off and then continue. Alright, next we're going to be going for the shift linkage. Right here is just a little cotter pin. We're going to pop this cotter pin out. I'm pretty sure that's not going to really let this guy get free. Up in here, let's see, actually come around. Right in there we got two 1/2-inch bolts that mount the whole shift linkage onto the frame. So I'm probably going to pull that cotter pin and then take these two 1/2-inch bolts out. I think it's a bolt and nut. So we'll take those off and that should free the whole thing up. Nice and rusty here. Oh, so close, so far. Bingo! Now for right up here, yes, it's some kind of solenoid control for the transmission or some kind of rudimentary system. This is a two-wheel drive 700R4 transmission, so I guess it's got a little bit of something. Anyway, it's just a little plastic safety tab on the side there. You pry that out and pop it out. In addition to popping off that plastic clip, there's also the wires held on to the side of the transmission with a 5/16. Let me double check. Yep, 5/16 bolt. So make sure you get that before you move forward. Alright, on the right side of the vehicle there, you'll see the black detent cable that goes into the transmission. I'll be leaving that installed because I'm plugging it from the top of the motor and it'll just be coming out as a unit. Alright, so we're back underneath the truck here, and as I was saying before, this is a parts vehicle, so I'm not really too concerned about taking apart everything nice and carefully. So for the exhaust, I'm just going to cut it off instead of trying to wrestle with those rusted bolts that are probably just going to snap. So for that, we're going to use the Sawzall, but the most important part, safety goggles. I want to keep all that metal out of your eyes. And that's how it's done. Alright, this should be the last step underneath the vehicle. We're going to pull the drive shaft off. It's got a slip yoke at the other end there. So you just got to take off these bolts here that hold on the universal joint. And that should be it. And what do we got here? These are 7/16. Alright, so we just pulled the drive shaft out of the transmission tail there, and the gentleman that bought the motor and transmission was nice enough to swing by and drop off a plug for the transmission tail end there so it doesn't leak all over, which is lovely. I hate a mess. But this should be it. I'm sure there's some ground wire or some other tiny little thing that I'm missing, but we'll find it out when we pull the motor. D10 cable, no, sorry, is that speedometer cable's hooked up still? Huh. But besides that, underneath here we should be done. The drive shaft is off, shift linkage is done, we're disconnected. The solenoid, electric plug, whatever that might be for, is disconnected. Exhaust is cut, so we should be ready to roll. See you at the top side. Alright, now we're going to move on to taking off the fuel lines to the motor, and it's quite simple. We only got two lines right here. This is a mechanical fuel pump on this motor, so we just got these little tension bands that hold it on, one here and one there. Pop them off. Next, we're going to move on to the power steering lines. We've got two of them. I'm going to disattach it at the steering gear, and there's one mount here on the frame too for the lines, so don't forget about that. And then we'll move on from there. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the power steering lines. They come off the back of the power steering pump. Go right here to the steering gear. It's got two, I think 18mm bolts, so we'll undo that. I've probably this 1/2 inch right here on the frame, and then it should be good to go. I don't think these things have ever been removed. Stiff, just a wee bit stiff. Pretty sure the lines, yeah, the line's just getting completely twisted and kinked, so I was just going to rip off. So at this point, I'm just going to cut these lines. Uh-oh. Alright, we got the lines cut and tied off here to the side. So I was just looking down the side of the motor, seeing what I could see, if there's anything attached. Look pretty good over here. Back over here. We got a ground strap we have to take care of. We got the cruise control. It's mounted to the firewall. So disconnect that. Disconnect the throttle cable. Vacuum lines. I'm pretty sure the guy that's buying this motor doesn't want, or he's not going to be using any of this vacuum crap. So, but just disattach them where they go up to here. And there's some emissions down here for the charcoal canister. So we'll pop those off. And then we'll do another overview, see if there's anything we missed. Alright, let's see what we've got going on here with the cruise control linkage. Little locking tab, pop that off. Oh, voila. And throttle linkage, same thing, just a little tab, bend it back, slide it down. And there goes the gas pedal. The throttle's still attached to the motor, so pop it out of its bracket. Let's collapse these tabs. Now that the throttle linkage is off, just going around looking and seeing what else we have here. So I have this wire going to somewhere, I don't know. But anyway, it comes right up here and attaches. So I'm just going to pull it from here. Pull that down and through, and that will stay with the motor. Some more electrical that goes back to the firewall. You can stay there. So I'm going to address all these vacuum lines. You want to look for, you know, like the guy who had this before, he took the spark plug wire and connected it onto the emissions control tubes, you know, to keep it out of the way. But it's going to be something that will snag you up. Just make sure you look for small things like that. Alright, so I've got all the emission tubes for the canister, charcoal canister off. They're out of the way. Took some of the other ones off in the back of the firewall here for the cruise control and whatnot. I don't really see any more back there. Yeah, I don't think so. So putting that's off. We're keeping the AC system because it's going into the 86 K10. So thinking, yeah. Should pop this lines off, get these lines out of the way, and we'll move on from there. Alright, we're losing light here, but gotta go ahead and take this. Jeez, the AC lines are disconnected off the back of the pump here. Get this out of the way. Alright, next thing we're going to tackle is we have the wires for the starter motor. You have your main battery cable wire, it's going to be there, and you'll have secondary wires to fire off the solenoid. The wires are here. They come two to the front of the motor, across the top of the motor, then back over there. So I think I'm going to undo the wires down to starter, and then see if we can fish the wires off the motor and throw them off over this way. And we got one more wee wire right down here. No one really knows what size that is. This is the broken one. It's just turning it. Bastard. Alright, so I removed the wires from the starter. So I'm going to try to snake them through the motor here and get them out. Okay. Alright, so when we get to the top of the motor, you're going to have to unplug the alternator and unbolt it from the back there. And then we're going to have another one shooting off, going into the carburetor, and then another blue guy jumping off, going to the electronic choke. So once those guys are off, it looks like a free run to the back of the motor. Well, as Camping with Steve says, time for step 2. Good stuff. Alright, so off camera I removed the AC pump and the power steering pump. It's right here. It's going onto my brother's truck. Just once again, scan the motor, try to see if there's any ground wires or just anything that was going to connect to the frame, to the firewall. So far I didn't see anything. I'm sure something's going to pop up. But we're at the point we're going to hook up the motor and rip it out. Get the fuck out of my shop. Jimmy had on all suit up. I keep a clean channel, so please refrain from any filthy language.
Well, you got no subscribers.
I have 63. And like I said, there's just those little things. The engine oil cooler lines. It's attached to the frame right there, so I caught that before we start pulling it, which is nice. But just gotta double check everything. There's a problem. Alright, for obvious reasons we had to pull off the hood. So now we're jacking her up again. We'll see how it goes this time.
say something?
No.
Did I say that I'm the assistant? My name is Jack Meoffer. Clear here. She's a loose.
Oh, the exhaust pipe.
Is that picking up the back? I can't tell.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Double fart.
You guys puke me a little.
Hold on. Alright, it's free.
Okay. We bringing it into the
Driveway?
I guess?
Yeah.
Let me know when it's free. I'll bring it down a little bit. So we're
Be free.
okay. Center of gravity. Yep.
Sensitive.
You got those wires or
There you have it.